Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Thank you very much for your passion and to all your team. I'm very grateful to have this opportunity.
All right. Our deep
My
appreciation to you as well.
Thank you. My question is on the balanced relationship between action and synchronicity. As example, I just left my job, but it took me longer than expected, and I was doubting because it happened by choice and not by synchronicity, as if I needed still a lesson to learn.
All right. First of all, it always happens by synchronicity because everything happens by synchronicity. So there's nothing that doesn't happen by synchronicity. It's just that you're not clear about the fact that there are two kinds of synchronicity. The first kind, most of you are familiar with. That's the one you normally talk about. The synchronicity of something being brought to you that's an opportunity to act on. But the other kind of synchronicity is the kind of synchronicity that actually prevents you from acting on things that are not appropriate for you to act on at that particular moment. And that's why it's always synchronicity. Because synchronicity is not only, just to use a simplistic analogy, is not only the gas pedal saying go ahead, it's also the brake saying no, you can't go this way right now. You need to stay where you are, or you need to look for some other avenue that is now something you are able to do because you're not able to do this right now. So the balance between the idea of the synchronicity that says take this action and the synchronicity that says do not act in this direction is your guiding principle in life. And that's why synchronicity is also an organizing principle, because it's really keeping you on the straight and narrow by saying yes, no, no, yes, no, yes, no. It's really allowing you to move through a particular path that is you by not only allowing you to move forward, but also preventing you to move forward in certain ways that are not appropriate. Does this help?
Yes, but so also my thoughts and because I could have done it like months before, but I didn't.
Why?
But there was not.
Why didn't you?
Because I thought it wasn't the right moment.
Then you are making your decisions, and you have to decide whether your decisions are being made for reasons that are in alignment with your truth or reasons that are out of alignment with your truth. And that's why it's so crucial to get in touch with your belief systems at any given moment, because it's always about the choices you make, but perhaps even more deeply, it's about why you make those choices. So you have to be in touch with your belief systems to understand the reason why you make the choices that you do. Nevertheless, the situation and the circumstance is still brought to you through some form of synchronicity.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
That's why, again, we reinforce and encourage the idea that part of the formula that we offer and encourage all of you to use is based on primarily you understanding what the beliefs are that you're holding on to as being true for you in every situation. So the synchronicity will always bring you a circumstance that is designed to reveal to you what you believe to be true so you can decide whether or not you want to continue to hold on to that belief or let it go. That's the first thing the higher mind and synchronicity does in bringing you into the experience of a particular situation. Does it represent who you prefer to be? Are you willing to take the action that is representative of who you prefer to be? Or are you not willing to take that action, and why or why not? That's the key. Always you have to know the reason for the choices that you make, and then you will be clear and transparent within yourself about what it is you're choosing to do. Yes?
Okay. Yes.
All right.
And I have also about belief systems.
Yes.
When my self-esteem is particularly creative, I arrive to ask myself if it is my lack not being able to interact with a version of my spouse which is more conscious and less reactive. in order to have a more harmonious relationship?
Well, again, the idea is for you to determine clearly within yourself what is and isn't representative of the vibrations in your life you prefer to interact with. So you have to, again, make those decisions about why you are experiencing what you're experiencing, not that it's a one-to-one reflection, but the idea of why you might be willing to continue on something that isn't vibrationally compatible with you. Because you are hoping that somebody else will change?
Yeah, no, I understand it. I think my struggle is that I feel
Your
that
challenge.
the
Your challenge.
challenge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't make it a struggle right from the get-go.
Yes.
It's just a
True.
challenge. It's something for you to know more about who you really are. So what is your challenge?
To divide my soul from my 3D experience.
To divide your soul?
Yeah, in the sense that I feel a deep, profound love for him.
Yes.
The physical experience,
yes,
is not harmonious. So I find it difficult to accept that I can't reflect this love in my physical experience.
All right, so you are being insistent on the conditions as a measure of whether or not you are who you prefer to be. That's insistence. And I told you that the third part of the formula is you can't assume or insist on anything. You can't put conditions on the idea of your passion. And if you truly love someone, you will then be honest with them in who you actually are in the relationship. And sometimes you have to really understand how important it is to show them the consequences of who you are. So sometimes a demonstration of your love may actually be leaving the relationship to show them that it's not the vibration you prefer. It's not the reflection you prefer. Then you're giving them an opportunity to decide for themselves whether or not they want to maintain that relationship and match your vibration, or whether they wish to continue their vibration and find whatever relationship actually works for them while you go and find the relationship that works for you. That's the most loving thing to do. Love doesn't insist that the other person may change to give you the reflection you think you should be getting from them. That's insistence and placing conditions on them, and that's not love. Does that help?
Yes. Yeah.
So watch what you're defining as love. Because if you really love someone, you will let them be who they truly prefer to be. You can always give them the choice, the opportunity to match your frequency in a way that you prefer. But remember, even if they do choose to match your frequency, it's not the same person anymore anyway. So what do you care that it doesn't really look like the same person? Don't go by surface appearance. If they decided to change and become more compatible with your vibration, it wouldn't be the same person anyway, no matter how you think they look on the surface. So don't insist that it has to be the same person that gives you the reflection in life that you prefer, because it never would be the same person no matter how they look anyhow. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense.
All right. Does that help you?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you very much.
You are very welcome.
Hello. Hi, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
How are you?
Perfect. And you?
I'm great.
All right.
Okay. Did humans inherit archetypal symbology from both the Sasquatch and the Anunnaki when they were hybridized? Or
The archetypal level is a collective, unconscious level that involves every single being on your planet. It doesn't mean human or Sasquatch only. It means everything. Archetypal levels are a reflection of the entire collective unconscious of your entire planet.
okay,
So
okay.
everything is
So,
included in it.
okay, so the injection of the Anunnaki genes did not have any effect on that. Is that right?
Of course it had an effect. It added a different archetype. but still it became part of the archetypal structure of the collective consciousness of your planet.
Okay, so what archetype was added?
Well, the connection to the concept of extraterrestrial consciousness.
Okay, and has it also evolved over time?
Of course it has, like everything.
Okay, so do we have any uh, symbolism for it in our culture or world right now? Like, how do we recognize that archetype?
There are many symbols for the idea of your recognition of extraterrestrial consciousness. Whichever symbol you're attracted to use is fine, because they're all belonging to the unconscious archetypal level of the collective. So some people will use the concept of the actual letters ET. Some will use the idea of a configuration of a flying saucer. Some will simply see it as the idea of the image of another planet. There are many ways to represent the archetypal symbol of extraterrestrial consciousness based on your particular affinity for a particular symbol that represents it.
Okay, and how do you interact with archetypes in your civilization? How do the archetypes help people in your civilization?
It again gives us a clearer understanding of what we are not only as individuals in relation to the archetype of the collective, but it gives us a clearer understanding and ability to interact with the collective as well, simultaneously. In other words, we see the idea of our existence multidimensionally at the same time.
Okay, so like, do they help you in your endeavors of, say, first contact or any other endeavors in your world? Like, do they take physical form, or do you communicate with them in a different way, like you communicate with your higher mind through your ships?
It's similar to that idea because, again, we represent and understand the idea of archetypes as being a part of our collective consciousness. And therefore, any individual who chooses to relate to the idea of the archetypal level in their own particular way will create their own symbology that's relevant for them to allow them to experience that relationship in the way that works for them. So many different kinds of symbols can be created. Sometimes it can even be that something will project itself to look like it's actually physically in our reality. It just depends on what works for the individual's relationship with that particular archetypal representation.
Sure.
Sometimes the archetype will look like a geometric object. Sometimes the archetype might present itself in what you would recognize as an animal form. Sometimes it might represent itself as the form of a Sasani being. Sometimes it might represent itself as the form of energy of some sort. It just depends on the individual's relationship with that particular archetypal section, shall we say, of the collective unconscious, although we don't really have an unconscious. So for us, it's a little different.
Okay, Bashar. And then there used to be a empire named Sasanian Empire in the Middle East.
Yes, it was
Where,
named after our civilization.
okay, yeah, that's what I wanted to know. Like, what's the connection with your civilization?
The
And like, it
connection
was,
is that there
yeah.
was an entity on the earth at that time from our civilization who explained the name of our civilization was Sasani, but it was misunderstood as the name of the individual entity. This entity was considered to be some sort of a divine entity or a godlike entity, even though it was simply one of us. But being very much more advanced, it was taken to be some sort of supernatural entity. Over time, a being was born on your planet that was named after this particular entity. There was a connection energetically between them, and the parents of that particular individual that was born was named Sasan or Sasani. And then, when that particular individual had a grandson, and the grandson created a particular physical political empire on your planet, he decided to name the empire after his grandfather, who was named Sasan and Sasani. And therefore, that's how the idea of the Sasani Empire became named after our civilization, because it was named originally for the grandfather whose name was taken from the supernatural entity that everyone assumed was a godlike figure, but was only one of us.
Sure, Bashar, that's very illuminating. And can you also tell me the difference between inspiration and motivation? Like, what is inspiration in comparison to motivation?
Well, inspiration can be the idea of the unfolding of your imaginative connection to the higher mind to present you with the concepts that represent your passional path. But motivation is that which uses your belief systems to determine how willing you are to actually take action on that inspirational path or idea.